Okay. 언니가 네 소매를 너 야니 너 야가 돼서 혼대나 혼대가 돼서 오메데 아도 사이로 혼내가 돼서 매일 하던 사이로 아가 혼내가 돼서 매일 야이 너 야가 돼서 혼내나 헌데가 돼서 우메데 아도 사이도 네. Yeah, we have to do the blow at the ends, like to let people know when we're done with the medicine songs. So that little like, you know. Okay, well, thank you. Welcome and welcome. Um, I almost feel like Mama de la Maiko, are you down to do the more technical stuff before we get into the more emotional stuff, which is like the content of the course, the introductions and all?
Sure. And also, I wanted to take a second for you to introduce yourself and for you to share a little
Well,
bit of your own story, before I get into the tech. So would that be appropriate for you to share a little bit about yourself?
sure. I usually go, sure. I was like, I was going to do me with other people, but sure. And so, yeah, so thank you all for attending the course. I'm so excited to serve you throughout the next 15 weeks. I'm Brittany Jade Wilson. I'm the founder of the Original Instruction School. We offer certification trainings, free classes, and retreats, mainly in the fields of herbalism, traditional shamanic herbalism, and women's health. Most of my background and speciality is, although this course that you're in right now, Ecosensual, is certainly for any and all genders. My speciality, and I do tend to attract frequently female and female identifying students. That's my specialty as an herbalist. I've been a practicing herbalist and midwife since I was quite young. Started here in Cusco, Peru, where I am sitting right now, um, as a teenager, having my first kid here and working as a young midwife and herbalist like that. I've mainly practiced within the context of indigenous cultures. So, like, mainly most of my practice as a midwife and herbalist was down here in Peru, in the Andes where I am now near Cusco, and in the Amazon where I lived for several years. But I did learn my background education as a young teenager in the United States, where I'm originally from. So I'm a good mixture like that. My natal lineage is on my dad's side, Pueblo Acoma, first generation off the res here. And so I definitely grew up in that context, forging relationships with the plant nations kind of just throughout my childhood and through a ceremonial context. And then also my mom is, mixed European, Irish, Welsh, just a firecracker, wherever that comes from. I don't know. And yeah, and I'm very grateful to say that I've been blessed with great teachers over the years, and I'm really honored to just and humbled to lay before you the tools that I've learned over the years working as an advocate, an herbalist, and midwife, and facilitating ceremonies as well. Although I have never charged money for them, I do offer that to my community. And I'm just humbled to lay the tools that I've learned before you. And I pray that Spirit guides me to give the tools that best serve you and your clients. I'm very, very passionate about advocacy work and reproductive advocacy, but we'll get into that more with the inspiration behind this course and the fundamentals of this course. So thanks for joining, and I can't wait to hear all about you and your introductions. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And I am Michaela Delamico. I'm gonna hold my personal share until we do our greater circle, but I wanted to make sure for folks that hadn't really encountered Brittany Jade Wilson's work in the original instruction school that you like feel the medicine that I feel when I work alongside her. I had the great privilege of meeting her in person last year, and it was a beautiful lock-in. And this is our third round of holding this container. And so I'm here to be and serve as an educator and administrator and helping you along your journey be easeful and as effortless as possible. So if there's any like questions, concerns, I am like HR. So feel free to reach out to me so that we can fine tune this container to be better suited for you where you are and deliver the information as effectively as possible. So, with that, I would like to share a little bit about the digital ecosystem. So, this digital ecosystem was actually first developed as part of a facilitator training program that I built several years ago. And it is built to be a multisensory and many ways of learning type of experience. As someone who learns in a multitude of ways, both audio visually, through reading, through kinesthetic learning, I really pray that there are many ways that you can interact with this material to further embed it into your system and commit it to that to memory in a multitude of ways. We will start with these lectures, and this will be the top point of the material that we will receive from Brittany. And from that recording, bonus material and additional follow-up material will be posted to the Experientify Learning platform. The additional bonus material will come in the form of videos, PDFs, audios, images, downloadable information, and articles. So you will have material to reinforce what you're learning. So your practicums are hands-on practices that will reinforce your learning of the lecture material. Thank you for allowing me to serve in this capacity. It has been such an honor to work alongside Brittany and creating this little digital ecosystem for her already incredible, mind-blowing curriculum. So thank you, Brittany, for allowing me to serve in this way. Thank you to each and every one of you for trusting me. So I will leave it at that for Brittany to lead us through the next portion of our opening circle today.
Okay, thank you, Michaela. Amazing as always. Yeah, and so she so eloquently put to words the structure. We often joke that like I'm the meat and she's the bones type of thing. Like that's how Ecosensual was born, right? Because she has this mastermind of just everything. I'm like the teaching and the branding and the giving it a very interactive, very user friendly, I think, integratable. As far as the curriculum aspect, the advocacy aspect, I've been teaching advocacy certification trainings for 11 years. Before that, it was mainly doula certifications and herbalism certifications, which for me, doula and midwifery trainings are certainly, I mean, number one, I think, is advocacy for reproductive rights. That's what led me naturally into the advocacy work and where I got more acquainted with some of the legal ins and outs of it. But yeah, it's just been such a beautiful marriage between the two. And I find that it's life changing, and the community aspect is so important as well to stay in touch with other practitioners. Towards the end of this course, we're certainly, and I, as I always have tried to do with graduates of Ecosensual or Original Instruction School, make a big bridge at the end of your training. Like, so where do I go from here? where do I go from here? What are my actual career options, or how does this add value as an advocate? What does that literally logistically look like? We have classes to address all of that, and have given it a natural kind of flow to build upon each other. Yeah. And the base reason for me why I am so adamant about working and acting and educating as an advocate for reproductive rights, and again across the board, it's not gender specific. I've never said like only female identifying people in my class. It's just part of my medicine bundle. That's just what it is. But for reproductive rights in general, I've been working since I was 15. I left home at 14 and started studying herbalism and midwifery officially at 15 years old. And it's been something that's very close to my heart. My mom was a very avid advocate. She was a wonderful professor, especially accommodating people with special needs. And some of my early childhood memories are like coming with her to the hospital so that she could intern as a rape advocate, and working in the Student Disability Resource Center at universities. And I feel like that, mixed with my mom's educational background, mixed with growing up just as an Indigenous woman and just as a survivor of early childhood and other sexual trauma, it's something that's very personal to me, my personal story, and then that I've seen has a huge impact since I was a child, of just advocating for others who, using our tools in that way. And then as I've developed as my own adult and had my own spiritual experiences and forming understandings of how I raise my children in the world, for me, advocating and being an advocate of reproductive and sensual well-being and from a holistic and indigenous traditional perspective is the same thing, not metaphorically, but is literally the same thing as advocating for the earth herself. And hear me out with this one. So hear me out with all of them, please. No, but this one to start. So Indigenous women across the world, and people, but specifically women, are at least 10 times more likely to be murdered, go missing, be sexually assaulted, in the United States and in Canada. At least the numbers vary. Some say 25. And we're talking more times than the most other vulnerable populations, which, right, under that ranking is women of color, and in general. And we're to me, when I look at that, and when I look at working with organizations like I do and like I have to advocate for the rights, the reproductive rights of all, but specifically for Indigenous people, it is the same thing as advocating for the earth, because the mass sterilization and the campaigns that have been run throughout history, and this is not, this is in history books, this is admitted, campaigns to wipe out entire Indigenous cultures, lineage, memories, mass sterilization, which happens now and recently. Like, I was just at the house of a native Quechua woman, I want to say 3 weeks ago, who was just telling us her memories from her life, one of which was escaping sterilization. She hid behind a tree when she was 16, when they like wheeled all of her community off to get their uteruses taken out involuntarily. So this is something that still is happening. And why? Because for the big interests, whether that's the governments of the day or Coca-Cola or Monsanto, whatever the big powers that want the oil, that want the rubber from the Amazon, as it was in the early 1900s, that want the gas, whatever it is at that time, that want the ayahuasca, that want the maca, that want the copaiba. Every time, for every Indigenous life, that's one more person they have to fight to get to those natural resources. So it's particularly important to those who maybe want a handle on the natural resources of the world, the bodies of water, to have as less population of Indigenous and people of, and let's go over this word Indigenous. So it's very, very important to me to preserve this advocacy and herbal wisdom to you and deliver it to you as intact from the cultures that I'm from and that I've been blessed enough to learn beside, without culturally appropriating. Okay. And so when I'm talking about Indigenous, I'm not just talking like, oh yes, I'm Pueblo Como, but the fact is we have ancestors that are Indigenous to different continents. We'll reference some herbal practices, some energetic practices, some psychological practices throughout this training that have roots in indigenous cultures from various continents. No, some of them have indigenous Germanic tribe roots. There's many wise peoples, indigenous to Europe, that yes, their skin is whiter, but just the same fought and died for the very lands. Just the same were burned alive, for taking care of and tending to the bodies of water and trusting in nature like that. And so I just want to honor the indigenous relatives from all of our lineages. And also, that's separate from being like, I'm indigenous to somewhere, therefore, any indigenous culture is up for grabs. So, just from the beginning, so that we're clear on that. And and our indigenous ancestors, that being said, from all over the world, one more indigenous person, meaning one more person who lives with the earth and not on the earth, who lives with the earth and considers her alive, versus I live on an object that's here for my taking and consumption. One more indigenous person that lives with the earth and stands for the earth is one more person that stands against, for example, a spring being contaminated, or the pipeline going through, or whatever the thing is at that time. And so for me, working as and training advocates, particularly for caring for survivors of sexual abuse, which are disproportionately indigenous humans, women, and women of color, that is the same exact thing. We're advocating for those individuals, for ourselves, and also the earth at the same time, because we're guiding protection, we're guiding that wisdom, um, back to the generations of people, again, no matter where your ancestors are from, who stand with the earth like that. And so that's going to be a common theme throughout. One of my bonus materials for after this first class is the full album from John Trudell, The Tribal Voice. Some people, a couple of students were like, I don't know how that's related, but for me, it's very much related. I consider him to be one of our greatest leaders and poets, but to me, a lot of his poems on that album certainly tie together what is standing up for the rights of your community, what's standing up for the rights of yourself as an advocate, for your children, for your nieces and nephews, and then for the earth herself as a whole, for your nation as a whole. So that's kind of, I would say, the base inspiration of this course and why I teach what I do. And then it's just become such a beautiful baby that we've given birth with Mama Michaela. And I'm super excited for all of the twists that were and additions of this course, like making it a little extra longer, meaning we're going to have time for the plant nations more, and also time more for specifically energetic protecting, like energetically protecting yourself, and more herbalism for specifically psychedelic integration and preparation like that. So I'm very excited for that. We did build into the course ancestor. One of your first practicums is going to be connecting with your own benevolent ancestors. And in whatever way you see those, whatever tradition you are. I'm not here to and if I ever offend someone throughout the course, please feel free to reach out for me. I'm certainly not here to judge anyone's belief system. I certainly can just only speak to what I see. But whether that's your plant ancestors, the plant nations, the fairies, your literal physical ancestors, whatever you feel is your protection and guides, we are going to have you each individually work on calling those in for yourself, because being that this is a huge work. Okay. And I really honor you for your time, based on the little mini lecture about this being the same, advocating, this is multifold. It's like we're in the container together. I'm healing myself. Y'all are healing. Like we're going to be doing the plant baths together, the journaling together. This is sacred time for me too. Every time I learn, I'm humbled to be here with you. I know Michaela's going to be healing. Memories can come up a lot of times in these trainings. I have people, maybe sometimes first time memories coming up in dreams. Maybe, oh, I didn't, sometimes we have the younger students as well. Like maybe I've had many times students in this course be like, oh, I never thought of it that way, type of a thing. And so I just want to say that on an individual level, this work can bring up a lot. That's why we've built into this curriculum protecting yourself, resourcing yourself, lots of journaling, breathing time, plant bath diets, connecting with the plant allies and the other resources along the way. And it's important to do this. And I recommend that you do this. And this is not an official practicum, but every day. And I challenge myself to that because I forget as well. But not to freak anyone out, but and this is, we are going to have a whole class just specifically on protection, red flags, green flags, and psychedelic practitioners. Like, you know, to me in life, when I'm teaching something, offering a play, facilitating a ceremony, going to a birth, many situations I've been in where I'm like, oh, this is a big one. Like you can almost like feel it coming. And I feel like we each probably have a story we could relate to that somehow. Like, and almost yourself like doesn't want to do it. Like either like who knows, the ayahuasca diet, the wedding, like I don't know, but you're like, this is a big one. And it almost seems like the opposition, both internally and externally, can kind of get heightened. No, each time I'm coming to teach specifically this advocacy class, whether it's with EcoSensual or my one through Original Instruction School, which is much more for doulas and birth care providers, but still it's for the survivors of sexual. It's like things come up, like almost the energies out there don't want this work to happen in a way. And again, I don't want to get too much down the rabbit hole, but I will say that for me, that's always a great reminder how important this work is. And so I really urge you, along the way to take advantage, seeing your protection, whatever it is for you. Again, dancing, whatever that is for you. Just connect them deep with your resources. When we go over our class that talks about effective therapies for survivors, we're going to talk about EMDR, havening techniques, somatic experiencing, and a lot of those therapies, what we'll see again and again, are built with bringing the resources to those hard places. So just right now, whether that's for you therapy, your commitment buddy, your accountability buddy, whatever that is. So thank you for doing this work. It's very, very important. And I specifically feel called to this container because it has our psychedelic twist. And let's be clear, psychedelic, we went over the languaging for this, and then of course, like Michaela's way better at branding and all that. She's a mastermind of that. I'm more like the academic with that. And I'm like, no, it's like technically, because it is true. We finally landed on altered states of consciousness because we need advocates for healer. Sometimes it could be in a tantric breathing workshop. You could be doing the ring of fire breath. You could come into an altered state. I've had people come into altered states, certainly at birth, certainly even during a yoni steam, a good massage, a good yoga class. I mean, anything. So and you can have psychedelic experiences without necessarily ingesting anything, which we'll go over more in our herbalism class too. But the earth and humanity desperately needs healing in these altered state spaces where we can really accelerate, right? I mean, I'm going to quote Sharon Johnson, who's a psychotherapist up in Pennsylvania, Black Eddie, who I met during her first ayahuasca diet in Peru. And she's like, comes out of the ceremony, she's like, that was like 10 years of psychotherapy in one night. And I'm not saying that's true for everyone. I'm not saying that's true for everyone. Well, certainly. And for survivors, ayahuasca isn't always the best fit because it can be so jarring. We'll go over that too. But in general, whatever your healing method is, I feel that as humanity, we desperately need, and for the earth herself, healing in these altered spaces. But yet, those of us who seek this healing are most of us are disproportionately survivors of sexual trauma. So let's start there. Then we're extra vulnerable, right? Because we're a lot of times in these spaces where we're like, these are my issues. Healer, help me, and then it's like there's no advocacy or accountability in a lot of these spaces. A lot of them are not regulated, or in some places and countries are even illegal. So I feel really, really honored to offer this wisdom. I know that you're going to come out of it just like super being able to help ourselves and others guide that healing in altered states in a trauma informed way that's not re-traumatizing. That's going to be a theme again and again. We're not trying to like go in with a pickaxe and like get out all the trauma. We're trying to go in and nurture from the ground up, the grandma healing way. Make the garden bed so rich in minerals and maybe some cayenne pepper and maybe some tobacco, so there's no more room for bad pests anymore. We don't need to go in with all the miracle grow and all the stuff into our spirits and diet and therapy until we're just re-traumatized in this loop, which can be very common for survivors. So that is what this dedicated to and for. I am so down. I'm so grateful. I did want to mention Michaela had talked about some of our graduation requirements. I do want to reiterate though, because have had many people take this advocacy training and other ones simply for self knowledge and self healing. Those requirements are there only if it's a thing that you super need or want to get your eco-sensual certificate, but it won't like hinder you in any way from attending everything that you can. Um, just wanted to reiterate that. Okay.
I call myself into the circle as a full range human being that makes lots of really beautiful mistakes and likes to learn from those mistakes. I call myself into the circle as my inner child. I call myself into the circle as like the baby elder that I sometimes feel like I am. Just can't wait to just be old and just like sit around and tell stories and just like let the young ones do the work because I'm tired. And yeah, I call myself into the circle as like the sensual being that I am. I am, former sex worker, and so I just like love the intimacy space and the space of that altered state of like orgasm and like intimacy and that kind of mode that we get into when we're just like undressed before each other. So I call myself into the circle like vulnerable, psychically undressed, and very raw. And the plant allies that I've been in kinship with as of late, I've been really I've been sitting with some tinctures lately, and this one tincture that kind of has my heart was one that was made by a sister who is helping out with the Ma'a action, and she sent some care packages to us to send to survivors and was nice enough to add a little extra one so that I could get some medicine for myself. And it's called Love is a Verb, and it's got turkey tail mushroom and flower essence of San Pedro. And so it's been really healing my heart a lot and helping me feel very strong. And it's very honey rich. So honey's not a plant ally, but if it was, I mean, it's made of all the flowers that the bees inhabit. And, so honey is like sweet, sweet medicine for me. Oshun guides me in my life, in my work. And so anything that is honeysuckle, that is sunflower, that is bright, that is yellow, especially in these summer months right now, is like very much in my heart. So thank you for allowing me to be myself and allowing me to share and call all of us into this sacred circle. And I will pass it off to my sister Brittany to, carry us out of this container.
Thanks. Thanks. Cause I'm just like,
Okay,
come on.
whatever.
Like, yeah, thank you. I mean, that was nice, right? Everyone wanted to hear that. Like,
No
thank
one,
you.
no one cares.
Okay. Thank you, Great Spirit, for this awesome first class. Please walk beside my sister Michaela and all my new siblings and family here in the circle, both present and not present. May our benevolent ancestors walk beside us in protection that's felt in our bones and our blood and our DNA like that. And all the good ancestral memories, not just of trauma, but of the healing come throughout these next 15 weeks. There you go, something with 5. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for all of you and your ancestors and the thousands of generations it took to get you here today. We're going to close up with the Apache Burning Sky song. And and the lyrics for this will be posted. Phonetical spelling, huh? These aren't written languages. We'll put the phonetic spellings up for you. Okay. No. Yai. Do. Yagate so honde na. Honde gate so meide. Ado sai don me. I don't side on me. I got home, they got this so made. te so honde na. Honde ga te so me te. Ado sai do me. And I forgot to say the first time, but that's Apache. So it should be sung. It's an honoring song for Burning Sky. It should be sung in 2, 4, or 7 rounds. And we did 2 rounds each time.